Welcome to part 2 of returning to archery. In part 1 we looked at the body setup. The stance, feet shoulder width apart, engaging the core, making sure the shoulders were in a neutral position, and that the body was lined up with the line to the target. The shoulders were in line. In this part we're going to look at preparing the bow and raising the bow and drawing. We'll talk about release, anchoring and release in the final part of this. So let's first of all look at getting the bow in the right place in the hands. For the correct positioning of the bow should be resting on this part of your hand. So this is where the pressure should be taken. So take the bow, put that against the arm of the bow, and if you're not using a finger sling, place one finger around the front, keeping a nice loose grip. So when you draw the bow, you should feel the pressure on this part of the hand. Now you may need to adjust it if you have any injuries there, but find a position that's consistent. It's important that you always use the same positioning. But don't let the bow rest on this part of the hand, because then that becomes actually quite sore, and it's actually a very soft, movable part of the hand. So we're now going to look at raising the bow. The first part of that is the pre-draw, where you put some tension onto the string to allow the bow to sit in the correct place on your hand. So it looks something like this. Pre-draw, put a bit of tension on the bow, and now you can see that my hand can actually be fully open, and yet it's not moving in my hand. So there's a bit of pressure against my arm there. Once you put that pre-draw on, you're ready to raise the bow arm, and then once you've raised it, then draw back. And when you're drawing, don't use your arm muscles to draw, but instead use your shoulder. So the way I suggest to people is to think about moving your elbow back, and that usually gives you the correct position. So it's not moving the hand, but moving the elbow around. So some pre-draw, raise, then draw. So a good way to practice to make sure you're using the correct muscles in your shoulder is to use the band exercise. So take a band like this, put it your thumb over that, and then wrap it around your fingers. It can be any band. I've got a flat band. It can be one of the red cord bands that we have, as long as it's elasticated. Imagine you're shooting on the line, pre-draw, raise, draw back, and practice that action, making sure that you're using your shoulder muscles, thinking about drawing your elbow back. And that gives you good exercise to check that your back muscles are being used. If you're looking for things that you want to practice at home, then what you could do is strengthen up your bow arm muscles. So these are the muscles that have to support the weight of the bow while you're shooting. Now, it may not seem like much, but a bow is about 1 3/4 kilos. If you don't have any long rods, things like that on it, just a bit short of 2 bags of sugar, or about 3 pints of milk. That weight, when held out for any length of time at the end of your hand, when you're holding out full draw, is actually quite substantial. When you're standing like that, you begin to feel after some time there's a weight on your shoulder. In order to get good shooting, you actually need that shoulder to be quite strong. So if you want to practice something, practice holding 2 bags of sugar or 3 pints of milk at a full extent of your arm to build up those muscles. In fact, you could do a bit of weightlifting with them. That will strengthen up your arm muscles there, giving you much more stability when you're shooting. In the final part, we'll look at the end stages of the shooting. That is the anchoring position, making sure that's consistent, and then the release.